Are we live? Hold up, wait a second. Is it Tuesday already? Is it Tuesday already? Oh, we got a good one today, ladies and gentlemen. We got a good one today. We're talking all about Mara Jade, one of a fan favorite Legends characters, possibly coming to canon Star Wars. We also got some news about Dave Filoni and a possible Ray Stevenson replacement, and we got some stuff to talk about with 2024 Star Wars projects. So without further ado, let's dive right into all of this. What's up, guys? It's Mike, a guy who loves Star Wars. We got a lot to talk about today. This Mara Jade news had to be the cover of this video, or the thumbnail, whatever you want to call it, because it is that cool. Mara Jade is a fan favorite character from the Heir to the Empire trilogy, and the Heir to the Empire trilogy is kind of being adapted into canon Star Wars right now in the Dave Filoni Mandoverse era. So this is big news. There is a Rebels star, one of the voice of a Rebels character, who has come out and said that she wants to play a live-action version of Mara Jade. Now, on stream, we have talked about Mara Jade a little bit before. We all know who the character is, but we've talked about her coming into canon and whether or not she would be adapted into a different character like a Shin Hati or something along those lines. But I want to know what you guys think about this. We'll dive into this article in just a second here, but how we doing on this fine Tuesday afternoon, chat? What is up? Cole, how we doing? Cal, how we doing? Cole says, good day. How we doing, Cole? Cal Maddox, what's up? Says, what's up, buddy? I'm doing good. How are you? I'm doing great. I'm doing great. How are you guys today on this fine Tuesday afternoon? We're going to dive into all this news. It's going to be a pretty fun stream, if I do say so myself, because we did our first giveaway of 5 giveaways on Saturday's stream. That we're doing so if you guys weren't here for Saturday's stream, we're doing a giveaway every Saturday up until Christmas. So yes, this last Saturday was our first giveaway. Next Saturday, Saturday after, and Saturday after that will be giveaways till Christmas. So we're doing giveaways until Christmas every Saturday. I believe John Groom just got his. He sent a picture to the Discord. If you want to join a fun Discord, it's completely free. There's a link in the description below. If you want to become a member, it's just 99 cents. You can become a member and get instant access to those giveaways. John won one, and Sulfur Squirrel, I believe, won the other one. We gave away a shirt and a pop figure on Saturday. We'll be doing them every Saturday until Christmas. So all you need to do is find 99 cents, find it on the ground somewhere, and become a member to get instant access to those giveaways. Okay? That's just a TLDR on that. Now let's get into Star Wars stuff, okay? Star Wars stuff. Of course, we got the Christmas setup here with the Yoda lights and the Yoda light. Yeah. I know what I said, and I said what I meant. Derpy Entertainment, what's up, says, unless they're erasing the sequels, Mara won't mean anything to anybody. Waiting on an Old Republic trilogy, though. We got some Old Republic news. I'm working on an Old Republic video right now that will hopefully come out tomorrow. I really hope it'll come out tomorrow. We'll figure that out. But the Old Republic could be coming sooner than expected. Let's just put it that way. Sooner than expected is what I think with the Old Republic, especially now that Dave Filoni has gotten this promotion that we talked about last week. I think this Old Republic era could be coming a little bit sooner than we anticipated. And to your first point, Derpy, Mara coming in wouldn't mean anything to anybody if the sequels aren't erased. That's different, because Mara could survive. Well, it could go one of two ways, I guess. She could survive and really play a big part in a post-sequel world, or she could die, and her death is very prominent, of course, in Luke Skywalker's character, especially if she goes the route of Legends Mara Jade, where she falls in love with Luke, they get married, and they even have children. Imagine if Luke Skywalker had some hidden child somewhere that survived the events of the sequel trilogy. That'd be pretty cool. That would be pretty cool. Like Mara Jade didn't tell him about it or something. I mean, come on, we're on to something there. Ian, what's up? Ian says, hey, hot stuff. Thanks, Ian. I appreciate that. I'm feeling nice and hot today. Disney makes Star Wars for the general audience, not hardcore fans. I think they do it for a little bit of both. They want to please both worlds, and I think Dave Filoni does that perfectly, where he created the Ahsoka show, where you can either enjoy it because you've seen everything before with the Clone Wars and Rebels, and you're in love with the character of Ahsoka for a whole decade, and you still enjoy the Ahsoka show, or you could have never seen anything before the Ahsoka show. This could be the first thing you've ever seen from Star Wars, and you still love it. So it's kind of playing the balance of both worlds, Ian. You don't want to only go after the hardcore fans, because then you're neglecting the normies, as it were. And you don't want to go only for the normies, because you'll be neglecting the hardcore fans. You got to balance. You got to play both worlds, I guess. They're different worlds. Both worlds. Derpy says, that's a little bit over-exaggerating about Mara, but point is fans won't care either way. Well, there's a lot of fans who will care, Derpy, because Mara Jade is a fan-favorite character from Legends. You have characters from Legends that persist through time, even though Legends don't exist anymore. Those characters are Darth Revan, Darth Bane, and Mara Jade, really. Those are the three big ones. I mean, there's obviously a ton more other characters that fans really love, but those three are the big three, I would say. In my maybe Darth Plagueis. Big four. And Mara Jade is one of those characters. She's extremely important in the Heir to the Empire trilogy. She's the person who literally falls in love with Luke Skywalker. They have kids together. She's a very important character. So it would make a big difference, and a lot of fans would seem to care. Well, they already killed off Luke. You're not wrong, Derpy. Yeah, you're not wrong. They did already kill off Luke Skywalker. But these events would take place before that happens, I would guess. That's what I would guess. All right, let me pull this up here so I can see the chat a little bit better. Ian says, there is another Skywalker. See, a secret child of Luke and Mara Jade that survives the sequel trilogy, and somehow Luke didn't know that, would be cool. I'd be all for that. I mean, a secret Skywalker, sign me up. Yeah. Derpy says, I think they made it for this generation's audience that knows absolutely nothing and could care less about what fans think. Derpy, I understand where you're coming from, and I get the whole sequel trilogy thing, and it's not what we wanted. But there has been a shift, and the shift is happening, and it's good to see. It's good to see. With Ahsoka, with The Mandalorian, we got the right people in charge, and that's what we want to see. Star Wars, Kata. What's up? How we doing? Says hello there. It's been a while. So I'm hoping there's a shift, and I think with Dave Filoni now in this new position that he has, we will see a cool shift in sort of the content that we're getting from Star Wars and how it's pleasing to more fans, old and new. Because you got to ride that line. You got to be able to play both worlds with normies and hardcore fans. Yeah. Cole says, I feel like that's true for some shows, but Ahsoka did a really awesome job of bringing Legends more into the light and becoming the heir to the Empire and potentially with Abeloth. That is true. Ahsoka really does ride that line perfectly, bringing in Legends content into canon by altering it a little bit to fit the canon, but also giving fans what they want. Grand Admiral Thrawn, Abeloth. Those are from two separate stories in Legends, but you can bring them into one story that is the canon Star Wars. And I think you're going to see a lot of that. Not only are sales for the Legends books of Heir to the Empire going to go up because people want to know what's going on with these characters in Legends before they come into canon, it's almost like Marvel Comics. Marvel Comics, you can go read Marvel Comics, but you can watch the MCU. Now, they're the same characters, but they're different versions of the characters. It's the exact same thing with Legends in canon in Star Wars. They're the same character, Thrawn and Thrawn, but they're different versions of the same character, if that makes sense. I think it's the best way you can explain it. Yeah. Mara divorces Luke and runs away with the kids before the sequel trilogy. That could happen, but I think it's more likely, Cole, that she would die, or somehow Luke would think she dies and then she disappears. And maybe she gets stranded on Peridia, or I don't know. We'll see. We shall see. Well, they did think that Ezra was dead, and Ezra just disappeared to Peridia. So you never know. There's always a way. I don't hate the sequels, but that side of the fan base I'm not okay with in normies. You just mean like the annoying sequel, like lover people? Well, here's the thing. There's a difference between people who like the sequels and people who sort of just say that everything that ever happens with Star Wars is the greatest thing to ever happen. There's a big, big difference, and it's some people are just stupid and dumb, but some people have valid opinions. Star Wars Kata says, I just need a Star Wars movie. Somehow Palpatine returns again? Oh, no. No. Please, God, no. But yes, a new Star Wars movie is necessary, and I think you're going to get some. I mean, the Rey movie seems to still be on track. As much as some of you might not like that, it still is on track. And a lot of people, I mean, Daisy Ridley saying those things the other day about how she's really excited and she thinks that fans will be very excited. It piqued my interest, but I still got to know what this movie's about. There's got to be a plot. There's got to be a villain. There's got to be a conflict. There's got to be something. And until I know about that, I'm still very hesitant on the Rey movie. Now, the Dave Filoni Mando movie, I'm excited for. 100%. The Dawn of the Jedi movie, I'm extremely excited for. There's some movies that are on the way that I'm really, really excited for. And I still think we're going to the Old Republic semi-soon. By semi-soon, I mean like within the decade. So don't get your hopes up for that. But it will be semi-soon. And yes, I think Star Wars is going back to the big screen where it belongs. Where it belongs. Okay, fix that. Okay. Honestly, I hope they make it a game and not a movie. Derpy, what are you referring to? The Old Republic or the Mando movie? What? I'm not sure with Mara in the sequels. I think Mara has no place. Well, here's the thing. There's about 25 years until we hit the sequel trilogy. 25 years from Ahsoka to the sequel trilogy. That's a long time, okay? In those 25 years, a lot can happen. Luke can get married. Luke can have a kid. Or none of that can happen, I guess. But Mara can exist as a character for a long, long time. Think about the Bad Batch right now. The Bad Batch are kind of in the same sort of boat. Hunter, Tech, Omega even, and Wrecker and all the others. They don't exist in any other Star Wars media. They were introduced at the end of the Clone Wars in Clone Wars Season 7, and they have their own show now. But at some point, they're all going to have to die because they don't exist in any other source of media. So that could be the same with Mara Jade. You can introduce the character of Mara Jade. She's a fan favorite character already. The Bad Batch are a new cast of characters. Mara Jade will be a recognizable face, and she has almost 25 years to explore as a character. And she can either die off or she can survive somehow, because there's plenty of options to survive in Star Wars, into a post-sequel world. And it's really up to debate, but I think there's plenty of room to explore the character of Mara Jade. Star Wars Kata says, I need a movie like Rogue One. Well, Rogue One is kind of its own specialities type of thing there, as Obi-Wan would say. Because it fits, it helps solve the issue of A New Hope. A New Hope had a big, big issue, and that was the Death Star, this massive planet-killing weapon that the Empire spent so much money on, can be destroyed by one X-Wing. That's a big problem. That shouldn't happen. But when you explain it with the great movie of Rogue One, where Jyn Erso's father, Galen Erso, put a flaw in the Death Star, then you have a more cohesive story, and A New Hope makes more sense. While also getting a cool new cast of characters like Cassian Andor and Jyn Erso, and seeing Saw Gerrera again in live action, and you get a lot of cool things in Rogue One, and of course Vader's hallway scene, and seeing Leia again. So Rogue One is kind of an exception. Seeing another movie like Rogue One is hard to do. I think a Dave Filoni Mando movie would kind of be like Rogue One, where it's helping out the sequel trilogy, but we'll see. So when the freak is Acolyte happening? You mean like in the timeline or release date? Release date is next year, and in the timeline, Acolyte takes place before the prequel trilogy. So before everything. I think 150 years before. So 150 years before The Phantom Menace, Episode 1, is when the Acolyte takes place. Yeah. Ian says, Rogue One had the best space battle in all of Star Wars. I still think the opener to Revenge of the Sith is better. Yeah, that's just me. You know, I don't like the idea of Luke having a wife. Well, why not? Why not? I think it would only help the character of Luke Skywalker, especially how we know his character ends up in the sequel trilogy. We got to get into this article, guys. I got to catch up on these chats. Cole says, Acolyte is in 2024. Probably before quarter 3 will be my best guess, considering that the trailer was released forever ago to people at Star Wars Celebration. My guess is that the trailer will become public around Christmas. To that I say no. I think Skeleton Crew's coming first. So I think we got to get the Skeleton Crew trailer first, and I think the Skeleton Crew trailer will probably come out around Christmas or into January-ish. Yeah. I think you probably won't get the Acolyte trailer until after Skeleton Crew is even over, because they don't want to kind of overlap the two shows. Derpy says, I think Rogue One is the best film that Disney Star Wars project they have besides Andor. Yes, Rogue One's the best movie they've produced for sure. Best project, you could argue that for sure. Can I get an Old Republic trilogy tone of Andor? I think you will. I think you will at some point. Not within the next couple of years, but at some point, yes. I think there'll be multiple Old Republic trilogies. I think it'll be like a Old Republic saga, as the Skywalker saga is a Skywalker saga. Cole says, one thing I am sad about is, but also super respect about Andor, is that we probably won't see Cal Kestis or Ahsoka make a cameo. Love it on the one hand because it doesn't rely on fan service, but also I want to see Cal Kestis in live action. True, it's not. It would feel like fan service in Andor because Andor's not like that, and Ahsoka and Cal aren't really near that story. But if Cal Kestis was to show up in like Ahsoka, it would make sense. It would make sense to the story because Ahsoka's a Jedi, Cal's a Jedi, and their stories should overlap if Cal's still alive. I think you'll see Cal Kestis in live action soon. Ian says, there's apparently a starfighter battle in the Acolyte. Yeah, Acolyte's going to be jam-packed with action. Lightsaber on lightsaber, some space fights with pirates, again, like we saw in The Mandalorian. It's going to be good. No, Kata, no. I refuse. It still ticks me off that fans don't give the love to Andor that it deserves. I think Andor has its audience. Like, the people who watched it really enjoyed it, including myself. But I think the people who didn't get around to watching it because they weren't pulled in. Also, it's coming off the back of Book of Boba Fett and Kenobi, which divided the fandom even more and more after the sequel trilogy did. And Andor didn't get the eyes on it that it deserved. I think if it did, a lot more people would have enjoyed it. Cole says, Skeleton Crew is for sure coming out early next year before The Acolyte. Star Wars has a habit of dropping several trailers to build hype for the coming year, but I could totally be wrong. No, Cole, you could be right, because last year they did the same thing, but that was at like a D23 in September, and there was no D23 this year, which was strange. But yes, they did do that. They released a Bad Batch trailer, a Mando trailer, and I think maybe even an Ahsoka trailer. Or no, maybe it was Tales of the Jedi. They released 3 trailers at the same day. And it was really, really cool to build hype for the next year. But it kind of like, you miss out on some of the hype. You got to get hyped for each individual project, you know? Andor is the best Disney Star Wars. You could argue that for sure. I don't agree, but you could make an argument. You could definitely make an argument. All right, let's dive into this article before we get far away from the Mara Jade topic. Let's dive into this because I want to know what you guys think about the whole Mara Jade deal, but I also want your guys' thoughts on this girl playing Mara Jade because there's a lot of different actresses in Hollywood that could play Mara Jade. She obviously has to have red hair. She obviously has to be around the same age of Luke Skywalker. But I want to know what you guys think about this actress in particular because of her connection to Star Wars and all these other things. All right, so see you later, Kata. Thanks for stopping by. It's been a while. All right, let me pull this up right here. Perfect. Okay. So this is the lady in question right here. So Star Wars Rebels voice actress Vanessa Marshall expresses interest in playing live-action Mara Jade. So Vanessa Marshall, who is this lady right here, she's got the red hair and all, the actress behind Hera Syndulla in Star Wars Rebels, has expressed the desire to portray the beloved Mara Jade in live action, courtesy of Collider. Vanessa Marshall was asked during a panel at this year's Fan Expo in San Francisco. By the way, this Fan Expo in San Francisco will be brought up a few times today on this stream. This was an enormous Fan Expo in San Francisco. Not only was Vanessa Marshall there, the voice of Hera Syndulla, but Ewan McGregor was there, Mark Hamill was there. There were some other people I can't think of off the top of my head, but it was really, really loaded. I went to the Fan Expo near me earlier this year, and Hayden Christensen was there. Rosario Dawson was supposed to be there, but she couldn't come. And there was a few other people that weren't related to Star Wars. Oh, the Clone Wars cast, of course. They go to frickin' all of these things. Ashley Eckstein, Matt Lanter, and James Arnold Taylor, who voiced Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, and Anakin in the Clone Wars. They were all there. So these Fan Expos have a lot of Star Wars people, but when you have Ewan McGregor, who's Obi-Wan, and Mark Hamill, who's Luke Skywalker, that's a pretty big deal. So it was a pretty loaded cast at this San Francisco Fan Expo, which is pretty much just another word almost for Comic-Con. So whether she'd like to be part of one of Dave Filoni's forever expanding projects. Marshall responded by bringing up a Legends character who has yet to make an appearance. So when she was asked about whether or not she wants to come into live action, here's what she said. And Cole just said she's 54 years old. As true as that is, Cole, look up, what the hell's her name? Katie Sackhoff. How old is Katie Sackhoff? Somebody in the chat help me out. How old is Katie Sackhoff? And Derpy says I'd rather have a bigger name. Well, that's interesting too. We'll see where we come out at the end of this article. Well, Marshall was the original voice actress for Hera Syndulla in Star Wars Rebels. The role was eventually passed on to Mary Elizabeth Winstead for Ahsoka. Now, I think that's a great decision. She doesn't look like Hera Syndulla enough. I think Mary Elizabeth Winstead did a fantastic job as Hera Syndulla. So I'm glad about that cast, but Vanessa kind of got screwed. Cole says she's 43. So Katie's 43. Okay. Katie's 43. She's playing Bo-Katan, who is how old? How old's Bo-Katan? Supposed to be like 50, something like that. How about Tamara Morrison? And how about Ming-Na Wen, who plays Fennec Shand? She, I believe, is 60. Somebody fact check me on that. And she's playing a character a lot younger than her. And a lot like Derpy actually said, she does not look 54. She does not look 54. So this is what she said. I would love to play Mara Jade. Can you call Dave Filoni and just let him know that I would love to play Mara Jade? I think we would all just like to be in live action in some way. We haven't had the opportunity to do so yet, but my background is in live action. So she is a voice actress, but she also has live action roles. So this is her again on the red carpet for something. Oh, for Game of Thrones. She in Game of Thrones? Hang on, let's look up this lady. Vanessa. What was it? Marshall. I spelled Vanessa wrong and Marshall wrong. Good for me. Okay, let's see. So she's in Rebels. She's in... These are all voice acting gigs. Where are her live action stuff? Maybe it was earlier on. What the hell? She's done a shit ton of stuff. She's in Rogue One. I don't know to what extent. She's in Spider-Man 3? Who is she in Spider-Man 3? Hang on, let's pull up the IMDb. Let's pull it up. All right. Let's see this description right here. Oh, it's too far away. Much better. A graduate of Princeton University with a master's in acting from NYU, Sarah Marshall plays Hera Syndulla in Star Wars Rebels. Wonder Woman in DC's Harley Quinn show, which is animated. Gamora in Guardians of the Galaxy, which is animated. And Black Canary in Young Justice Phantoms, which is animated. In the world of video games, she is in Mortal Kombat, Metal Gear Solid 2, and Jedi Knights 2. She's also narrates shows for ESPN, Lifetime, and E! Where the live action stuff at? That's all animated stuff. But hey, I mean, Katie Sackhoff was all animation before she came into live action too. Interesting. Let's go back to these. All right, known for Bad Batch, because she was the voice of Heir in that too. Okay, she's got 2 upcoming things. Young Justice and Hidden Blessings. She's in over 228 projects. Geez, this lady gets some work. She gets the work. But most of them, it seems, are video games or voices for animated characters. She is around Star Wars a lot, as she's credited in Tales of the Jedi, in Rogue One, in, of course, The Bad Batch, Clone Wars, the Old Republic game. She is around Star Wars a lot, which is good. We love those types of people like Ray Stevenson and Jon Favreau. Those people are around Star Wars. They voice characters in the Clone Wars, all that stuff. This is good. Let's keep going. Having actors who began in Star Wars animation transition into live action is not uncommon. The most notable being Lars Mikkelsen, again, Lars Mikkelsen doing the same thing for Grand Admiral Thrawn, and Katie Sackhoff for Bo-Katan Kryze. There's been no word on whether or not Mara Jade will eventually come to Star Wars live action. Still, nothing. However, bringing Mara Jade into live action would be a challenge, with the character's background being an assassin working for the Emperor and eventually becoming Luke Skywalker's wife. This character has a lot of ties to legacy characters that may be difficult to fit into an already established timeline created by the sequel trilogy. On the other hand, Dave Filoni and Lucasfilm have drawn a lot of inspiration from the Thrawn trilogy books, while Mara Jade is featured prominently, so perhaps the character is already on the table and being considered. Now, I definitely think Mara was always in topic of conversation. I think Mara Jade was always in that conversation. When they're talking about which characters should we bring into canon from the Thrawn trilogy, Mara is always probably at the top of that list. It probably went Thrawn, Mara Jade. So it's more of how are they going to fit Mara into the character or into the story. Now, you could say the same exact thing about Thrawn. How can you bring Thrawn in, have him be heir to the Empire, take over the entire galaxy, and then not mention that in the sequel trilogy? Now, there's many different ways you can get around that, but the same can be said about Mara Jade. How can you introduce her, maybe even have her marry Luke Skywalker, and then have her not be mentioned in the sequel trilogy? It's the same dilemma that you have for the character of Mara that you have for the character of Thrawn. Dave Filoni has been promoted to a higher leadership position as Chief Creative Officer at Lucasfilm. He is also currently working on a live-action film that's being promoted as the finale to the live-action universe that he began with The Mandalorian with Jon Favreau. Only time will tell whether or not Mara Jade will make an appearance in live-action Star Wars. But would you like to see Vanessa Marshall as Mara Jade or somebody else to fit the boots? So let's ask the chat then. What do you guys think? Would this be a good plan not only to bring Mara Jade into live action, but to use Vanessa Marshall, who's been around Star Wars for a while, voiced Harrison Dula, kind of looks the part. I mean, let's take a better look at her. Let's open up this image right here. Open in new tab. What do we think? She's got the red hair. She kind of looks the part. I mean, it's hard to tell. I think Mara in live action could kind of go with anybody. I think she would do a pretty good job. I know she's definitely got experience with acting, at least, as we can tell, still being in over almost 200 projects as a voice or as an actress. I don't know. Is there another actress that you guys would want to see play Mara Jade, if at all possible? Because I'm so bad with actors and actresses, so I can't even think of a single redheaded actress in Hollywood. Yeah, I got nothing. I mean, Emma Stone was at once, but she's got different color hair now, no? What do we think? Sophie Turner. Interesting. Sophie Turner. Let's look her up. What the hell? That's what I... Sophie Turner. Oh, the girl from the Game of Thrones. Yeah, she would actually make it. Oh, her hair is blonde now, but we all know it as being red from Game of Thrones. She would make a fantastic Mara Jade, actually. She even looks a little evil, and Mara was evil at first. Huh. That would be a pretty good cast right there, not gonna lie. But she's a big time star, so you'd have to give her the big time paycheck, you know? I don't know. We'll see. Any other options? Let me read the chat here. With makeup and a small amount of VFX, can do wonders too. Yeah, for Vanessa, I agree. I think Vanessa is a great option. Of course, you can go for a bigger star like Sophie Turner or maybe others that I can't think of off the top of my head. But if you want to stay in the Star Wars family, which Dave Filoni loves to do, all the people that he works with, he wants to continue to work with. That's why you have characters or actors like Lars Mikkelsen coming into live action, Katie Sackhoff coming into live action, Ray Stevenson, who voiced a different character in the Clone Wars, coming into live action as a new character, because again, Dave Filoni loves to play with his friends when it comes to Star Wars. So I think Vanessa might be the best bet. I'd rather have Emily Blunt. Emily Blunt. I know who that is, but I can't think of. Isn't she blonde? Emily Blunt. And I know what you're gonna say, Mike. Any girl can change the color of her hair, which is true. Which is true. Oh, she did have red hair at one point. I don't know. I don't really see Emily Blunt as Mara Jade. I just can't see it. I don't see it. I don't see it. Unfortunately, the fact is she is mentioning it means that she hasn't been tagged on yet. That's true, Cole, but maybe Mara hasn't been cast yet, you know? It feels like Dave surely already has an actor picked out for that role, or for the role, and at least has talked to them about it. Well, not if Mara hasn't really been brought in yet. Because Mara Jade might be on the table, but they haven't found the right actor or actress. It's the same thing with Rosario Dawson. Rosario Dawson was fan cast to be that character. I think Vanessa Marshall's maybe thinking that she can do the same thing. Now, she's not nearly as big of an actress as Rosario was at the time, but maybe fans will sort of galvanize behind her and get her to get this role. It doesn't seem like that's the case right now, but it is, of course, possible. Julianne Moore? Who's Julianne Moore? Sounds familiar. Julianne Moore. Julianne Moore. How old is she? She looks a little bit older. 62. Julianne Moore is 62, which would be a little bit difficult. But she does have the red hair. Hollywood casting 54-year-old women in a hot babe assassin role, unlikely. We'll see. I think we'll have to just wait and see on that because I can't really say anything to that. Not saying it's right, but you have to be L-I? I don't know what that means. If we're getting Mara, I would prefer that it's someone who has the talent to be a lead of a live action role, personally. I don't hate the choice, sorry. But I would largely prefer to have more experience with a live action actor. I mean, experience is not sort of the issue here when it comes to Vanessa Marshall, as we just looked at her IMDb. Now, I get live action experience is different than animated experience, but she has the ability, to say the least. And Katie Sackhoff was kind of on the same boat. She didn't have much live action experience. Lars is a little different. Lars does have some, but yeah. Cat's Paw, what's up, Cat's Paw? Says, yes, it would. I don't know what you're referring to, but yes. As long as the actress has talent. Well, that's always the case. You want somebody with talent. You don't want a talentless actress to play a role, but yes. Luke is 28 in The Mandalorian. So what kind of age gap makes me... So that kind of age gap makes me uncomfortable, but that could just be me. Well, again, it wouldn't have to be that age gap. She could be 54 and playing a younger version of the character, you know? But again, you can always find a closer actress. How old is Sophie Turner? Sophie Turner? She's 27. All right, Sophie might be the perfect cast for this role. This is Sophie Turner right here. She's Game of Thrones. She is 27 years old and might be the perfect. She's actually married to Joe Jonas. I did not know that. That's crazy. She's taller than him, but that's okay. Could be the perfect cast. She looks the part. She's the perfect age. That might be perfect. Might be. Might be perfect. J. Jonah Jameson? No, Joe Jonas. Joe Jonas as in the Jonas Brothers. She's not married to him anymore? It said to 2023, no? The more you know. Ian's got that knowledge. All right. While talking about the possibility of Mara Jade coming into live action, we got to talk about what projects are coming out next year and the possibility of maybe Mara Jade showing up in one of them. But it is unlikely. Because if there was to be one, they are getting a divorce. Really? Fascinating. So Joe Jonas is on the market. So there is a possibility, you never know, that Skeleton Crew could introduce Mara Jade, but it is possible that Skeleton Crew could introduce Cal Kestis as well. But what projects are coming out in 2024? So now I'm going to do a poll, but what's interesting is I can only do 4 on the poll, I believe. So let's pull this up. Which 2024 project are you most excited for? We're going to go with Skeleton Crew, Acolyte, Bad Batch, Season 3, and Andor Season 2. Sadly, I can't add Tales of the Jedi onto this because I can only have 4 options on this poll, which is kind of lame. But if you want Tales of the Jedi, I guess just tell me in the chat because these are your 4 options. Tales of the Jedi, again, is more of a short than a show, I guess. So it'll all be released at the same time. And it will, we'll see. All right, let's dive into this article that I have here about all the shows that are supposed to be debuting in 2024. So 5 Star Wars shows are reportedly debuting in 2024. Let me zoom in a little bit on this. Perfect. It's been reported that 5 new Star Wars shows will make their debut on Disney Plus next year. Well, let's take a recap on this year. This year was The Bad Batch Season 3, The Mandalorian, Ahsoka, but you also had Season 2 of Star Wars Visions, and Young Jedi Adventures. Now, Young Jedi Adventures is a kids' show, but it still was released. So technically you had 5 this year, give or take, if you count Young Jedi Adventures and if you count Visions Season 2, which I don't really. So you had 3 this year, Bad Batch, Ahsoka, and The Mandalorian. Major ones, I'll say. But this is talking about 5 major shows, like the 3 we got this year. According to Empire Magazine, 5 Star Wars shows will be coming to streaming during the course of 2024. Some will be new series, whereas others will be continuations of previous established stories. The full list of Star Wars shows reportedly coming out in 2024 is as followed: Skeleton Crew, The Acolyte, Bad Batch Season 3, Andor Season 2, and Tales of the Jedi Season 2. 3 of these shows will be live action, which is Skeleton Crew, Acolyte, and Andor. And the other 2, and one of them will be setting up the Mandoverse and has been labeled by fans from the director of the MCU's Spider-Man trilogy, John Watts, is doing Skeleton Crew, which is set during the post-Return of the Jedi and will tie into the other series set during the same time period, such as The Mandalorian and Ahsoka and the Book of Boba Fett. Meanwhile, The Acolyte is set to be a unique project in a galaxy far, far away, as the earliest canon story shown in live action roughly 200 years before the start of the prequel trilogy. According to these reports, Andor is set to round out the live action shows in 2024 and filming on the season is set to begin again soon after being paused due to the SAG-AFTRA strike. So Andor is back in production, which is great, but it won't come out until the end of next year. But it will cap off the year of a pretty big year for Star Wars. The Bad Batch Season 3 and Tales of the Jedi Season 2 are the two series on the animated side of things. The upcoming season of The Bad Batch is confirmed to be the last. So Season 3 is it. That's it. The show's over. And it's possible that all the Bad Batch could die. I always said when we were watching Bad Batch Season 2 that Vader's going to show up at the end and chop all their heads off. It is a possibility. What the hell? What happened? What happened? All right, I fixed it. And Tales of the Jedi is set to continue the anthology storytelling focusing on Jedi Knights that began with the first season, which highlighted a young Ahsoka Tano, as well as Qui-Gon Jinn and his Jedi Master, Count Dooku. Now, I'm sure that it's not going to be 6 more episodes of Dooku and Ahsoka. I don't think that's what's happening. I think you're going to get 2 new Jedi, 6 more episodes, 3 of each, and they're going to do the same thing that they did for the characters of Dooku and Ahsoka, which pretty much just expands their stories in ways that we didn't really know we needed. Because Dooku, at least Dooku's 3 episodes, in my opinion, are insanely good. It also explains what happened to Yaddle. It also helps explain Dooku's fall to the dark side, which isn't really shown in any of the prequels. So with that being said, I guess my favorite question to ask you guys is, what 2 Jedi would you want to see be the main characters of this second season? My probably favorite 2 would be Luke, as he's starting his Jedi Temple, and probably at this point Baylan Skoll, because I want to see Baylan as he survived Order 66, or at least him as a Jedi, who his master was, get a lot of answers to those questions, because Baylan's character is so cool, and now that Rey is sadly passed away, we're not going to get much more of his character in live action, I'm sure, but you can always do a lot with a character in animation. So I'd love to see Baylan Skoll and Luke Skywalker as the 2 Jedi that kind of get the reins for this second season, but we'll see. All right. Andor Season 2 is extraordinary, is what the star says. So cast your mind back to before Andor Season 1 came out. And this was actually before I was even doing live streams. We started live streams when Andor started. I believe our first live stream ever on this channel was the first episode of Andor. We predicted it, I believe, and then we talked about it after. And so I wasn't doing live streams, so you have to cast your mind back before. And when Andor Season 1 was about to be released, the stars of the show, the girl who was playing Mon Mothma, Cassian Andor himself, were really hyping up the show, like a lot of shows do, trying to get hyped up for the show. Now, they talked a lot about how different it is, and that's what we saw in the show. It was different than other Star Wars content that we've gotten before. Now we have another star who plays Mon Mothma. The girl who plays Mon Mothma is talking again about the show. She's a very vocal woman when it comes to this show. She's talking about it, but she's talking about Season 2 and how good it's going to be. Now, remember, Mon Mothma was in Ahsoka. And I seriously doubt that's the last time we're going to see Mon Mothma in the Mandoverse as well. So this actress knows a lot when it comes to Star Wars. She knows what's going on in sort of both time periods. So let's take what she says very strongly. So Andor star Genevieve O'Reilly, who plays Mon Mothma in the series, spoke about Season 2 in the show earlier this year. O'Reilly teased that Season 2 by calling it quite extraordinary, and also discussed the season's arc structure that the first batch of episodes also had. So the first batch of episodes did like a sort of 3-episode arc type thing. The first 3 episodes is the flashbacks to him as a kid. The next 3 are the attack on Aldhani. The next 3 are the prison. The next 3 are whatever. So it was like 3-episode arcs. And that's what the second season is going to do as well, except with these 3-episode arcs, it's going to be big time gaps in between, because we're going to have to catch up to Rogue One, because the end of this season goes right into Rogue One. As well as the original plan for the show, creator Tony Gilroy has been open about this, but initially there's going to be a number of seasons. So at first it was about, I think it was 5. There was going to be 5 seasons of this show. 5 seasons of this show, which is crazy. So they narrowed it down to 2 seasons, and they are just kind of leading it into Rogue One. So he definitely has arcs. He had arcs in regards to each year, essentially, of what was happening. It allows us to allows for the piece to almost be like a juggernaut, O'Reilly says. So season 2 is going to be a lot bigger than season 1. It'll cover a lot more ground in the story, at least. But there was supposed to be 5 seasons, each season being an individual year leading up to Rogue One. Now, if you're an Andor hater, I should say, or a disliker of Andor about how slow it was or the pace or whatever, imagine 5 seasons, how slow that would be. Andor season 1 is now streaming, blah, 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 blah. Wait, it doesn't go into the other ones? No, that's different. That's a different story entirely. But that is the five shows that are being set up for next year. Skeleton Crew, Acolyte, Bad Batch, Andor, and Tales of the Jedi. With, I would guess in order of release, I would say Skeleton Crew's first. It'll probably start out the year in January or February, along those lines, early on in the year. Then I would guess Bad Batch, just because they're going to go sort of a live action, then animation, then live action, then animation type thing. So I would guess Skeleton Crew, then Bad Batch, then Acolyte, then Tales, and then Andor. So you got 5 major Star Wars projects coming out next year for just Disney Plus. That doesn't include games like Star Wars Outlaws. That doesn't include possible other announcements for other stuff. Like, that's just the shows. That's it. So that doesn't include novels, comics, nothing. That's just the shows. 5 major shows. So what do we think? Is this going to be a good year for Star Wars? Are we excited for these projects? Or are we a little hesitant on next year's Star Wars projects? Because I did a poll on the community tab, and I'm about to pull it up right now, but it's very interesting to me to see how people are reacting to next year's projects. A lot of people don't really care. A lot of people were commenting on this poll and saying, why should I care about any of these projects? Because they don't interest me at all. And that's very interesting because Tales of the Jedi, I thought was incredible. And I know a lot of you thought it was incredible. Even the Bad Batch people thought was incredible. But when you think about the live action projects, Acolyte is a brand new time period in the Star Wars canon. Or at least it's Star Wars live action canon. So fans are a little hesitant to get there. Also, with Skeleton Crew, it's a brand new cast of characters. And fans are really hesitant about that as well. So let me go to this community tab. Yeah, there's 2 polls I want to show you guys here, but we'll go to this one first. So this is fascinating. I did the same poll that we have up in the chat right now. Let me see where the chat one is at. Acolyte is in the lead in the chat. Or sorry, it's tied with Andor Season 2, both at 33%. And the other 2, which is Bad Batch and Skeleton Crew, are at 17%. But on the community tab on the channel, with about over 280 votes, which is pretty good, 280 votes, Skeleton Crew sits at 3%. In the lead, you got the Acolyte, which is very interesting, at 30%. Right behind it is Tales Season 2 at 26%. Behind that is Andor Season 2 at 23%, and Bad Batch at 19%. And, of course, Skeleton Crew at a whopping 3%. Now, this is pretty concerning. I just told you how Skeleton Crew is going to be the very first project that gets released next year. And the hype level for it, even in my small community, is very, very low. Very, very, very low. 3%. 3%. So that's going to be problematic when this show comes out and nobody's watching it. It's going to be pretty bad start to the year if this show doesn't really bring a lot of hype to it very, very quickly. Now, Jude Law is going to be in it. Jude Law is a big-time actor in Hollywood, so he's going to draw a lot of attention. But it's whether or not the show is good, is whether or not normies are going to know about it. Because it's a word of mouth. All of us are going to probably watch it, I'm sure. Give me a 1 into the chat if you're going to watch Skeleton Crew. I'm sure most of us are going to watch this show, regardless of whether or not we think it's going to be good or not. We're going to watch it, at least give it a chance. So it's up to the show to impress us enough to go tell our normie friends. Oh, have you been watching Skeleton Crew? It's really, really good. Because if it's not, we're not even going to mention it. We're not going to mention it. It's not going to be even a topic of conversation. But if it is good, if it's like The Mandalorian, where the first episode drops and you see a baby Yoda, known as Grogu, then the hype is real. Now, I don't think Grogu's going to be in this show or any type of Grogu-type character, but I think this show has the ability to do a lot of cool things. It's going to be like a Stranger Things meets Star Wars type thing, and Stranger Things is one of the greatest shows of all time. So it's going to be interesting. The hype level is not here at all for Skeleton Crew, and I see a bunch of ones in the chat, so I know we're all going to watch it, but a lot of normies aren't going to. That's the problem. So the hype's not there, so it'll be really, really, really interesting to see where the numbers pan out for that show. And if it gets the traction as it goes along, because Ahsoka was really, really hyped. You can tell with like a small channel like mine, the numbers go astronomically high when Ahsoka came out. We were doing live streams, we were having 50 people watching me all at the same time because there was a ton of hype for that show. I don't think that's going to be the same case when Skeleton Crew rolls around. However, the Acolyte is almost in the same position as Skeleton Crew, but for some reason the hype is a lot higher. And I want to know what you guys think about this, because why do you think the excitement for Acolyte is so much higher than Skeleton Crew when they're both brand new shows with brand new characters that nobody knows about? Why is Acolyte so much higher? What do we think, chat? Let me pull up the chat so I can see. What do we think? Why is the hype for Acolyte so much higher? Keto, what's up, Keto, says, because Acolyte has to do with the Sith and the Jedi. Well, Jude Law is going to be a Jedi in Skeleton Crew. Does just not enough people know that? Because when I did make a video about, and I mentioned how Jude Law is going to be a Jedi who survived Order 66, people were like, wait, what? Wait, what? Really? What? Ypal Joe says, it has a cooler name. Really? The Acolyte versus the Skeleton Crew? I feel like Skeleton Crew sounds pretty cool. Acolyte just sounds confusing. And Keto, going back to your point, it is going to be heavily evolved around the Sith and the Jedi. And maybe you're right. Maybe people just don't know that Jude Law is going to be a Jedi in Skeleton Crew, and that definitely could play a part. But what draws attention to Star Wars is lightsabers, is the Force. It's what drew attention to Star Wars in 1977, in 1999, in 2005, in 2008, in 2015. It's the same thing that always draws attention to Star Wars, is lightsabers and the Force. And if you have one show that involves lightsabers and the Force, and you have another that doesn't, one's going to draw a lot more attention than the next. Last year, Andor and Kenobi. I think Andor, as a show, was probably better than Kenobi. But Kenobi had way more viewers and way more hype behind it, because not only is it Kenobi and Darth Vader, but it's also because Kenobi has lightsabers. It has the Force. Andor does not. So the hype just wasn't there. Cat's Paw says, because of Epstein's buddy directing it, other than actors have said, and what other actors have said in interviews, hard pass for me. So that also is a case with Acolyte. The hype behind it is more evident because the people are talking about it online more. Not only because of bad news with the interviews and what Leslie Headland has been saying and all this other stuff, but good news as well. The cast is loaded. You got Li Jiangjia, who's the main role in Squid Games. You have, what the hell's his name? Shit. The cast is loaded. Oh, you got the girl from who plays X-23 in the Wolverine movie. Hang on, let me pull up the cast. Cast for the Acolyte. There we go. Okay, yeah. So Daphne Keane was the girl who plays X-23. This is the guy from Squid Games. She's the main character, supposedly, Amanda Steinberg. This guy, I forget what he's from. This girl is from, what the hell is she from? She's from something pretty big. I can't think of it off the top of my head. She's pretty big actress. The cast is pretty damn loaded, especially for a Star Wars show, because usually with Star Wars, they try to go find other actors and actresses that don't really have that big of a name. For example, like a Daisy Ridley or a John Boyega or a Mark Hamill or a Carrie Fisher, those types of people. And even it's the same for the shows as well. You have even Pedro Pascal was a pretty big actor from Narcos and Game of Thrones, but he wasn't that big. It was when he made the leap to Mandalorian is when he became a household name. Now he's in The Last of Us. Now he's in all these other movies. He's really taken off. Mainly Minimal says, is it confirmed that Jude Law is a Jedi? That would be sick. That's the thing. It is, I believe. I'm almost 99.9999999% sure that it is confirmed by Lucasfilm themselves that he is a Jedi in the show. I think Kathleen Kennedy even said it herself. I could be wrong, but I'm almost positive, like 99.9% sure, that yes, he is a Jedi in this show. And that's the thing. Even us here in this community of nerds who know a lot about Star Wars don't even know that. So I think that's where the hype for Skeleton Crew kind of isn't there. I think people don't know about the show at all. And what they do know about the Acolyte is Jedi and Sith. And like Keto said, that's what draws the attention. And that's what people want to see. What's up, Mainly Minimal? How we doing? All right, let me do this. What the heck? Let me refresh this now. Ugh, this is going to freeze. Are you kidding me? Chat is frozen. All right, fixed it. I fixed it. Let me scroll up so I can catch up on these chats real quick. Now I want Palpatine to kill off the Bad Batch at Mount Tantus. Ian, you might not be far off. The Bad Batch might all have to die in this third season. I never want to stop fighting for an animated clone rebellion. I know, Catspaw, you really want that show, but it doesn't seem likely. And your two picks are for Tales of the Jedi Season 2 are Palpatine and Baylan Skoll. Well, Palpatine was never a Jedi, so it would be hard to do that. What's up, Joe? How we doing? Logan, what's up, Logan? Says, sup, I'm in and out, but that would be great if she became canon. Oh, talking about Mara Jade, yes. But it's unfair to ask which I'm most ready for. They all look so cool. Yeah, I get that. I definitely get that. I think for me personally, I'm most excited for Skeleton Crew, which is crazy. I think it's probably its proximity, just because it's the nearest one. It is the closest Star Wars show. If it wasn't, if they were all like releasing on the same day, I would probably watch Acolyte first. Again, Sith and Jedi. I mean, that's why I'm here. But Skeleton Crew, I think, is going to have a lot of connections to Ahsoka, to Mando, to the Heir to the Empire movie, because the combination of the Mandoverse, which is Dave Filoni's movie, is The Mandalorian, Ahsoka, Book of Boba Fett, and Skeleton Crew. So the Skeleton Crew cast will be involved in Dave Filoni's movie, which means they're going to be extremely important, which means the show itself is going to be extremely important. Especially if Jude Law's a Jedi. I mean, there's not a lot of Jedi. So it'll be very, very interesting. Very. Weirdly enough, I think I'm more excited for The Bad Batch than Andor Season 2. A lot of people are excited for Bad Batch Season 3. I'm just not. Now, I'm excited, but I'm not that excited, you know? I think a lot of people are really excited because they loved Bad Batch Season 2 and the cliffhanger it left us on. The cliffhanger was all right. I'm not that excited, or not like that, like I can't wait till Bad Batch Season 3. I can wait. I'm not in a rush, you know? Oh wait, I already read that. Mainly Minimal says, I think it will be like Guardians of the Galaxy vibe. Keep up the good work, bro. Thanks, Mainly. And yeah, I think Skeleton Crew will kind of fit that vibe as well. Maybe not as goofy and weird as Guardians is, but it might be visually like Guardians is, if that makes sense. Because I think it's going to be a sort of ragtag group of kids and Jude Law. So it's like teenagers and Jude Law. So it'll be a lot like Goonies and Guardians and Stranger Things, all kind of coming into Star Wars. Acolyte is the High Republic or the Old Republic? Good question, Keto. It is High Republic. So the High Republic is, I believe, it's like 500 years or 1,000 years before the prequels, all the way up until the prequels. Let me double check this. Star Wars High Republic time. Oh, so it's 500 years before the prequels, all the way up until the prequels is the High Republic era. So the 500 years before the prequel trilogy is the High Republic. Before that is the Old Republic, I believe. I think Old Republic is 1,000 years and further. Yeah, so the Old Republic is like an enormous time period in the Star Wars galaxy. It goes from 25,000 years before the prequels all the way up to 1,000 years before the prequels. So it's this massive time gap. The Old Republic, and then it goes to the High Republic at 500 years, and then goes to the Republic. So the Old Republic is a massive time period. 24,000 years. That's a long time. So 25,000 all the way back at the beginning is the Dawn of the Jedi. So that's when the Dawn of the Jedi will take place. So technically, Dawn of the Jedi will be the introduction to the Old Republic time period. It's a very long time period. Very. But good question. Yeah. The High Republic's completely being explored right now in books entirely. Acolyte will be the first introduction to this era in live action. And I think you're going to see a lot of High Republic content, whether it be in live action or in animation. I think you're going to be seeing a lot of it because Acolyte's already set for a second season. A lot of people don't know that either. Acolyte is set to have a second season before the first even comes out. It's a lot like Andor and even like The Mandalorian. It's set to have a second season, and that'll be pretty cool. I think so. I do think so. All right, let's switch gears a little bit here to Dave Filoni. So Dave Filoni got this promotion last week. We talked all about it. We got extremely excited. It's awesome. So his new role is CCO, which stands for Chief Creative Officer. Now, that means he's involved with everything. Before, he was only involved in Mandoverse stuff or animated stuff. Now he's involved in everything. Everything. Absolutely everything. He's helping develop, he's helping produce, he's helping do everything, which is fan-freaking-tastic, okay? But here's how this kind of changed the future for Star Wars. That's what this article goes into. So this week, in a galaxy far, far away, Lucasfilm carves a path for its future with new leadership and feature films. So, this is just an introduction thing, whatever. Hope your weekend was good, blah, 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 blah. And although it seems like it is a slow week for Star Wars, it was most definitely not, as Lucasfilm and Daisy Ridley dropped a 1-2 punch on Tuesday. The effects of these stories reverberated into the weekend with more and more interviews from Dave Filoni and Taika Waititi, so let's unpack all of it. So the last week was a pretty big week for Star Wars, and we talked about a good amount on Saturday, but like I said, on Saturday, we're not going to be able to get to all of it, so now we're going to get to all of it. So, not what I expected, but I'm very excited, is what Daisy Ridley told Collider in a recent chat discussing her new feature film, which will mark the return to Rey Skywalker. Sorry. Which will mark the return to Rey Palpatine in a story set 15 years after The Rise of Skywalker. There is a lot to unpack for a few sentences that she said about this project, but this is most definitely the one that's been circulating the most prior to the comments that she also pointed out that the story is really cool. So what did she expect exactly, and what is the story then? However, this topic, whenever this topic comes up, I think back to the Resistance podcast panel at Star Wars Celebration. They really named that one good. The Resistance podcast panel. Try saying that 10 times fast. Resistance broadcast podcast panel. The 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 Resistance podcast panel at Celebration. When someone in the audience dropped this bomb of a question, do you think Rey will have kids in the new film? It made perfect sense for Rey to want to become a mother at some point, but it was certainly not something that ever crossed my mind until I heard it mentioned. Daisy Ridley was in a similar position and was perhaps also surprised by the inclusion of children for Rey, or was it a completely different surprise? I would have loved to see Rey as a younger mother, though I don't think her kids should be old enough to be trained as a part of this new Jedi Order yet. I'm aware that there is a lot of people who are not interested in this film or this character, but even though I did not like The Rise of Skywalker, that is not my case at all. I am eager for this galaxy to move forward, and whether that's pushing the story further into the future or going all the way back to the past, I'll be there. However, my biggest question about the movie are regards to the state of the galaxy, and most importantly, a villain, which I've been saying many, many times. There needs to be a good villain for this film. But what's interesting is they talk about how people aren't interested in this story, but they want to see the whatever going forward. But what's more interesting here is how the fan asked about Daisy Ridley, or the character of Rey, having children. Now, there was a very popular fan theory going around the interwebs for a while after Rise of Skywalker, that when Ben Solo disappeared at the end, he didn't become a Force ghost. Instead, he put his life essence into Rey in the form of a child, or twin children, was the popular theory. And Rey was going to have these children, and one of them would have turned out evil, one of them would have turned out good, being the balance of the Force. I think that would have been a great story. I think it could still be a great story, and I would love to see that story. But I want to see what you guys think. So before we keep reading this, because we'll get into what's coming next, which is the Taika Waititi story, which is crazy. What do we think about that? Would you want to see Rey have twin children? Very similar and poetic to the way that Luke and Leia are twins. Maybe they're also a girl and a boy. One turns evil, one turns good. What do we think? Your pal Joe says, that's right. Yeah, Rey Palpatine. Yes, it is right. I'm sorry. I apologize. I almost said it, but I caught myself. Force babies? Yes, they would be Force babies. Yes, very true. They would be. But what fascinates me the most about that would be the villain of, maybe not the next movie, but a villain for the future would be a child of Ben and Rey, which would be very cool, because it would kind of be siblings pinned up against each other. Because we had the Luke and Leia stuff, but they were both good guys. They were fighting against their father, I guess, but they were kind of trying to bring him back to the light. This would be two siblings pinned up against each other in a fight good versus evil. Of course, there would have to be somebody who sort of persuades the child to the dark side, but that would be the villain of this first movie. I think it's a good plan, maybe not the best plan that they could go with, especially it would actually not allow Ben Solo to come back, because a lot of fans want him to be resurrected as well. I don't know. Let me actually end this poll real quick. I want to see where this poll ended. See if the math is mathing today. So which 2024 project are you most excited for? The winner of this poll, actually is a tie, was Acolyte and Andor Season 2 at 33% each. Bad Batch was 22%, and Skeleton Crew was 11%. And if my math is mathing correctly in my head, that math is not mathing, which is crazy. Okay, let's move on then to the next, which is the Taika Waititi news. So this hasn't really been talked about at all on stream, so I'm very interested to see what you guys think about this. So, another actor talked about the future Star Wars film this week. it wasn't the first time we've heard Taika Waititi talk about it in recent weeks. He is currently out in the world promoting his latest film, The Next Goal Wins. And of course, he's been asked about Star Wars. He told the Kelly Clarkson show that the film in particular, it's something he'd really like to get right. So he doesn't want to rush it. It's going to bubble along on the side. So he's not in any rush to get this story done. His Star Wars story, that is. What's up, Dominic? How we doing? He's not in any rush to get this Star Wars story done. He's got a lot of other projects on his plate. Now, some Star Wars fans want to see a Taika Waititi movie. Some fans don't. A lot of fans have been turned off since he made Thor Love and Thunder, but you have to remember that he made Thor Ragnarok as well, and 2 episodes of the first season of The Mandalorian. He's also the voice of IG-11. He's a big Star Wars guy. He also talks about a little bit here, I don't know if this article is going to go into it, but he did talk about how he wants his movie to have the feel of the original trilogy, which is also very interesting. So, let's keep reading. We kind of assumed that he wasn't fully committed to developing this next. He also recently told Business Insider that he would be directing Claire of the Sun next. However, he isn't writing that one, as far as we know, and the word on the street is that Taika owed Lucasfilm a draft after having submitted several of them earlier this year in the fall. Perhaps, well, that doesn't make sense. Perhaps most interestingly, reporter Jeff Snyder, who put the rumor out, said that multiple writers are working on it. Not just Taika Waititi. Multiple writers are working on this movie. This is something that is driving me insane. As someone who likes to know everything about the status of developing projects, so you have any tips about these mysteries writers, we are all ears. So we don't know who else is writing the story. Of course, it's not usually just one person who writes the entire movie, but now with Dave Filoni at this new role, he could also be involved with the writing of this movie. He's involved from the beginning with the development process, so he could be involved with it as well, which is pretty interesting, if you ask me. Whatever the case may be, I still think that Taika Waititi is underplaying his commitment to this project these days. He may be thinking about Claire in the Sun or the Incal, I don't know. But I do believe he's opening up to final draft documents containing the Star Wars script more than once a week. Remember when Variety reported months ago that he was in negotiations to star in a movie? Given his track record of starring in his own movies, it may have been obvious news, but at least to me, it signaled that he was actively thinking about the film. Oh my God, I forgot about that. So there was an article about how he might be starring in the Star Wars movie that he's making, which, please no. No. I like him as the voice of IG-11. Stay as the voice of IG-11. You don't have to make your own role for yourself. Deadline also said earlier this year that he wanted to shoot it in 2024. That would mean this movie's a lot closer than we think. If he's shooting this movie in 2024, like Taika's such a weird dude, so reading him is really hard to do. But it's possible that this movie could be closer than people think, especially with all this news. He's still talking about the movie like it's something that he's working on consistently. We'll see. We shall see. After all, there is a reason why he was not brought up on stage at Star Wars Celebration, nor mentioned anywhere in the Vanity Fair story about the future of Lucasfilm when it was discussed. So it is true. There was 3 movies announced at Star Wars Celebration, and this one wasn't one of them. So it'll be interesting to see. So this was some other news that came out about the articles with Dave Filoni talking about Rosario and Hayden and Ray Stevenson. Now we're going to get into this Ray Stevenson article right in a second here, but I want to know what you guys think about the Taika Waititi Star Wars movie. First of all, are you excited for it? And what is your take on Taika Waititi as a film creator, let's say? Now, it's possible that Dave Filoni could be involved in this movie because of his new position. He's going to be involved in every movie moving forward, which is great. But it's more of a question of how much he's going to be involved. Because if this is a Taika Waititi Star Wars movie, it could get weird fast. And the problem a lot of people had with The Last Jedi as a movie was how goofy and childish it was. And talk about goofy and childish, you got to talk about Taika Waititi. Look at Thor Love and Thunder and even Thor Ragnarok, but Thor Ragnarok did it in a better way. Thor Love and Thunder is just too goofy. And when it comes to Star Wars, it never should be goofy. Pretty much ever. I mean, there's a goofy aspect to Star Wars in general, but it should always be serious enough to be serious. Never should just be goofy for goofy purposes. If that makes sense. Sorry. What do we think? Taika Waititi, yes or no on a Star Wars movie? Let's pull this up actually. I want to see what you guys think. Taika, I don't know how to spell his name. Waititi? Something like that. Taika Waititi Star Wars movie, yes or no? That's the question. What do we think? Yes or no? Catspaw says Ben Solo in the World Between Worlds, and no one will change, or is in the World Between Worlds, and no one will change my mind about that. Well, Catspaw, he probably is in the World Between Worlds, just like Anakin is, though. Dead. Because the World Between Worlds is like a place between the living and the dead. So I'm sure if you wanted to have a conversation with Ben, you could go to the World Between Worlds, but he's not going to be coming back to life. Wow, this poll's at 50-50 right off the bat. Interesting. I'll leave that poll up there for a little bit as we get into this other news. So let's dive into what... oh, wait, what? That's not the one I wanted. Oh, okay. Okay. So this is Dave Filoni talking about Season 2 of Ahsoka and also talking about Baylan Skoll and what they're going to do with him. Okay? So we talked about this a little bit last week when we got the news that Dave Filoni was going to be promoted. But this is what happens, okay? All right, Dave Filoni hopes to make Star Wars Ahsoka Season 2 and teases a plan. Just days after the announcement that Dave Filoni was promoted to Chief Creative Officer at Lucasfilm, the new CCO has spoken with Entertainment Weekly to discuss the first season of Ahsoka because of the strikes from before. Oh, wait, you guys can't see that. Let me fix it. There we go. However, we are highlighting what the Ahsoka series creators shared in regards to a possible second season. Before we continue, I hate that paragraph. Just a couple of days ago, Vanity Fair revealed that Dave Filoni had taken the role of Chief Creative Officer at Lucasfilm in a piece that we saw Filoni discuss the first season in depth. Though the topic of the second season of Ahsoka was brought up in the piece, Filoni remained tight-lipped as the outlet shared that the second season had still yet to be greenlit at Lucasfilm and Disney+. Filoni is once again making the rounds to discuss Season 1 of Ahsoka, and as you'd expect, the question for his second season was approached in the latest interview with Entertainment Weekly. The outlet reaffirmed what had been making its way around the trades since Ahsoka Season 1 wrapped up that Vanity Fair shared a few days ago. The second season has yet to be greenlit. However, we've heard various rumors that it could be. Jeez, I can't really, I got a little mini heater here. And it's like too cold, too hot, too cold, too hot. I can't figure it out. Okay. Entertainment Weekly asked Filoni of the prospect of the second season, referencing threads set up in Ahsoka that they assumed fans would like to see resolved in a second season. Filoni was a tight-lipped man of mystery, gave a very Filoni answer by basically not answering the question, but giving the interviewer enough to chew on. So here's what he said. I set up several threads that can continue. If not, I feel like, well, at least I got Ezra home, and that was really important. But there's always a plan. I hope one day we'll see it. It could be very cool, but it took a while to get Ahsoka done, so you never know. Always in motion is the future. He says that very Yoda-esque, but he is very cryptic in this. He says he set up threads, but, if it doesn't happen, it's whatever. But there is always a plan, and I hope we get to see it someday, and it'd be very cool. But it did take Ahsoka a while to get done, so you never know. So he's kind of just like going back and forth, trying to keep it from coming out. Filoni teases a plan of resolution for the threads that he set up in Ahsoka Season 1. And those threads, of course, include Balin standing on the Mortis God statues, and of course, Thrawn coming into the OG Star Wars galaxy as heir to the Empire. Though he doesn't commit to the resolution being a part of a possible second season, it's more than likely that not everything set up in Ahsoka will be answered in Season 2, but the answer will be spread across Season 2 and the Mandoverse crossover movie and other Mandoverse series like Mando Season 4, Skeleton Crew, and others. Filoni shared that it would be very cool to have a second season of Ahsoka, but that the first season took quite some time to get made, possibly hinting that it might take some time for a second season, even if it does get greenlit, which would be interesting. Because we talked about how Dave Filoni would be so busy as to make a second season and the movie. Which again leads me back to my theory of that Ahsoka might not even be involved in this Mandoverse movie, and it will be more of an Heir to the Empire movie without Ahsoka's character, and then maybe it gets turned into a trilogy, and then they have to go save Ahsoka to come help deal with Thrawn. Like the good guys will lose in the first movie, have to go get Ahsoka for the next one to help fix. Okay. Previously, it was revealed that Lucasfilm hopes were to shoot and release both the fourth season of The Mandalorian and a possible second season of Ahsoka before the release of Filoni's aforementioned Mandoverse crossover movie, which will see various characters and plot lines from these live-action Disney Plus series that Filoni has produced in recent years, including The Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, and Ahsoka. At the time, it's believed that the Filoni movie is currently aimed to release in December of 2026, which, guys, it's almost December, and that movie's only 3 years away. Only 3 years, I guess. 7 months after the untitled Rey movie, which is due to release in May of the same year. So we're going to get 2 Star Wars movies in 2026, which is crazy. Yeah, so she said that, whatever. As of now, it is my belief that Mando Season 4 will shoot early in 2024 and release sometime in 2025. The previous Mando season took 6 months to film and spent a year in post-production before debuting on Disney Plus's streaming, meaning the shoot for Mando Season 4 will likely take around a half a year to shoot, and if the post-production process is similar then as Season 3, we might not see the series hit our screens until the second or third quarter of 2025, which lines up. I think that's when we'll get Mando Season 4 in 2025, and I think you'll see Ahsoka Season 2 at the end of 2025. In the Vanity Fair article, it was mentioned that Filoni was exploring ideas for a possible second season, likely meaning he's not close to writing a draft, let alone finishing a final shooting script. With that in mind, it's unlikely Ahsoka would film in the same time as The Mandalorian, though we know it's possible for 2 Star Wars series to film at Manhattan Beach Studios at once, as it happened last year with Ahsoka and the upcoming Skeleton Crew show, which also could indicate a possible crossover between Ahsoka characters and Skeleton Crew characters. Whether it's smaller characters like Harrison Dula, I guess not really a small character, but Harrison Dula and Chopper, or maybe bigger characters like Ahsoka. We'll see. In my personal opinion, it's only my opinion, sorry. If a second season of Ahsoka is a go, we will likely not see it start filming until the second half of next year. Ahsoka Season 1 filmed for 6 months, just like The Mandalorian, but released between 9 to 10 months after filming concluded. If the timeline is similar as it's laid out, it's possible that we get both The Mandalorian Season 4 and Ahsoka Season 2 released well in advance of Filoni's crossover event, which we would assume would start filming in sometime in 2025 and release in 2026. So that just goes into other stuff. Okay. So what's interesting about that is even if Ahsoka comes out, or Season 2 comes out 2025, so in 2 years, even if Ahsoka Season 2 comes out in 2025 in 2 years, there's still a whole nother year until Dave Filoni's movie, which will clearly give them enough time to do both, I think. Now, that will not really allow Dave Filoni to do much of anything else, production-wise, overseeing Acolyte Season 2 or any other project, really. He's going to have his hands full with Ahsoka Season 2 and then right into his own movie. And this movie is going to be enormous. Could make billions upon billions of dollars because everybody loves Grogu, everybody loves Din Djarin, everybody loves Ahsoka, and all these characters have been around for such a long time that this Mandoverse combination movie is going to be a massive hit. So he's going to have his hands full over the next couple years. I guess the question to you guys is, do you think Season 2 of Ahsoka is going to happen? And if so, is it going to happen before his movie? Or is he just too busy? He's going to be heavily involved in the filming of The Mandalorian, meaning he's going to be pretty busy with The Mandalorian Season 4 to start the year. So unless this Ahsoka Season 2 script has already been written, and it is possible that he already wrote it during his production for Season 2. It's possible, Season 1. It's possible that Ahsoka Season 2 is already written and ready to go. And they're just not telling us. It's all just a mystery. But it is technically possible. The same way that Mando Season 4 is ready to go. They're just waiting to get pre-production done and so they can get into production. That could be the case for Ahsoka as well. Let me read some of the chat here. Cole says, it would be interesting to see Ben or potentially other Jedi advising Rey's new Jedi Order through the world between worlds. I like that idea, Cole, but it would be a little bit, I don't want to say overpowered, but it would be a little bit concerning that Rey can just tap into the world between worlds that simply when nobody else can. And it would, again, egg on a lot of fans to keep that argument of Rey's just too overpowered type thing, you know? Cat's Paw says, Ragnarok and Thor Love and Thunder are both very silly. Ragnarok is better than Love and Thunder, though. Yeah, they're both very silly, but Ragnarok is more of a well-planned movie, I guess, to say the least. I mean, it sets up Infinity War very well. But Love and Thunder is just too silly, you know? Cole says, I don't know how Ahsoka can get back on her own. That's also a good question. How can Ahsoka get back to the original galaxy? I mean, Ezra couldn't for 11 years. Now, is it just going to be Ezra goes back and saves them again? Because Ezra can speak to the Purgle as well. So it's possible that Ezra just goes back and saves them, but that's kind of just a nothing burger then. There's no reason for them to be stranded there and it to be a big deal if Ezra can just come back and save them. You know? Cole says, it would be a good story if Anakin threw the world between worlds, I'm guessing. Wait, threw nope too soon. What? Oh, thought nope too soon for Ben to die and shoves him back into the timeline later. I could see Ben going face to face with Anakin. I made a full-on video about that at one point. It would be very, very cool if he didn't die and he went the same way that Ahsoka did in episode 5 of Ahsoka, where she goes face to face with Anakin and then she chooses life. If Ben did the same thing with his grandfather, Anakin, it would be very, very cool. And then he still lives. It'd be awesome. It'd be fantastic. I just don't think that's the route that they're going to go with this. I can't possibly see them doing that because it would take Rey out of the picture almost. I think there's a world between worlds portal on Peridia. Otherwise, I've heard whether Skeleton Crew are in the same galaxy. Skeleton Crew could definitely tie into this because these kids are supposed to get lost in this unknown place, and maybe that unknown place is this new galaxy with Peridia. And maybe Jude Law is there too. Because it's an unknown, or it's a new galaxy. Whole galaxy. We're only on one planet, which is Peridia. So we could maybe venture out into this galaxy, but it's going to be hard to do. Seeing as they don't have the maps for hyperspace. And yes, to Ahsoka Season 2 before the movie, I think it's possible, for sure. Cole says, I don't think Ahsoka will factor into the Heir to the Empire. Just get the feeling that her series will be separate from everything else going on. though she will probably be in the larger impact later on. I like that theory. I do. I don't think that's what's going to happen, but I do like the theory. I think Ahsoka Season 2 will happen before the movie, but if... Here's my ideal world. Heir to the Empire gets changed into a trilogy. Dave Filoni gets his own trilogy. In that first movie of the trilogy has the good guys losing because Ahsoka's not there. Then they have to go get Ahsoka in between the first and second movie in Ahsoka Season 2, and then they come back for the second and third movie where we actually get to see them take down Thrawn in the finally the third movie. But in that second movie, we get to see Luke's Jedi Temple and all these other cool things. Yeah. Cole says, so to answer your question, I'm personally not expecting Heir to the Empire or Ahsoka Season 2 to come first because I don't think they'll be connected at all. I do feel like Heir to the Empire is probably the priority, though. Yeah, the movie's probably a priority because they got to get back into the movie theaters. There's a set date for that, which is December 2026. And it has to come first. It has to come out on that date. It has to. That's a date that they have to stick to. So I definitely could see that. Yeah, for sure. And let's see where this poll ended at, because I see, whoa. I'm seeing 80% of you guys. Let's see if it stays that way. 80-20, the math is mathing. 80% of you guys do want that Taika Waititi movie, which is kind of surprising to me. I think we got to all the news today, did we? I think we did. Oh, that was another thing. Oh, yeah, we did this poll that started today, or yesterday. I started the poll yesterday. It's already up to 200 votes almost, which is pretty cool, about who should play Baylan Skoll if a recast happens. Lev Schreiber, Gerard Butler, Russell Crowe, or Vincent Regan. Regan's obviously in last with 1%, but in first is Gerard Butler with 53%. Lev Schreiber's in second with 30, and Russell Crowe with 16. I don't know. It's interesting. It's definitely interesting. I would love to see Gerard get the role. I think Gerard is probably the best bet. I agree with the majority of you guys. I don't know. We'll see. We shall see. But that's cool. That is cool. I feel like there's something else I want to say to you guys before I get on out of here. Giveaway on Saturday. Course, the second one of 5. Video tomorrow. Oh, there was something else I was going to say. What was it? What was it? I don't remember. Nope. We did that. I think that's all. It's going to come to me as soon as I end the stream, and I'm going to be so mad. Well, first of all, smash a like on this video if you haven't already. Like, what the hell are we waiting for here? And, all right, I'm going to get on out of here. Hopefully it comes to me at some point. But, yeah, all right, whatever. Smash a like on this video if you liked it. Hit subscribe and hit that bell so you get notified every time I post a video. And my pretty face will show up in the recommended feed of yours. Watch out for that video tomorrow, all about the Knights of the Old Republic remake and what's going on with that, because they're going back and forth, whether it's happening or whether it's not happening. What that means for the Old Republic like era in Star Wars. We'll talk about that maybe a little bit on Thursday, but watch out for that video tomorrow. And yeah, I'm liking these 2 o'clock streams. I think Tuesdays and Thursdays are probably going to be at 2 o'clock, and then Saturdays are going to be at 6. I think that's going to be the new schedule, and Saturdays are going to be giveaways until Christmas, and we're going to go with that for now. I'm digging it. I'm loving it, and I think it's a better time for a lot of you guys on weekdays, and I think it's a better time on Saturdays as well. I think it's the perfect system we got going here. So huge shout out to all you guys for being here. Shout out to the members, Cole, Cat's Paw. I saw your pal Joe earlier. I saw somebody else earlier. I forget. Sorry, but I forgot. Hope you have a great rest of your evening, and may the Force be with you always. I never get sick of this. Oh yeah. What a great stream. What a great show. I hope you guys have a great rest of your evening. Have a great rest of your lives. And good night. everybody.